Hello everyone and welcome back to the 2020.1 South African simGT series. This is the GTC leg of the championship, Commentator course of course at Sebring. Great to be back racing at Sebring. And I'm joined in the commentary booth by Daniel Haynes. Welcome Daniel.
Yeah, welcome everyone. Back on our old friend Assetto Corsa. It's been a while. Yep. I've missed it. I've forgotten how to use it. It's been that long. But we're back.
I think
we might be fighting for viewers though for the first part of our stream.
Yeah. Let's see where you go.
There's other announcements, but for replay purposes, this is the start of the Sebring race. Have we been here before?
We have been here a number of seasons ago.
Okay.
This is in fact a different version of the track as well. So I think new for everybody. And we are 4 minutes into the qualifying session this evening. Currently watching Mark McGeer in the McLaren, number 69. And you'll notice the track is extremely bumpy, typical Sebring. And the drivers have been setting up the car with quite a soft direction of setting up the car. And this famous long right-hander corner before the main straight will be catching out a few this evening, no doubt.
Yeah, you never know what line to take through there because there's about 50. So it's difficult. Everyone likes their own way, but yeah, no one really actually knows what's the quickest way around that last corner. It's famous for that fact. You can put 3 cars around there easily. Not many circuits can claim that.
Yeah, so you expect a variety of different lines through there. Extremely difficult to be consistent through that corner as well. To nail it the same,
I can't do it.
Same way every time. Yeah.
I take a different line every lap and then usually mess it up.
Yeah.
But it's so important because it can ruin your whole front straight, can't it? So trying to get it right, but it's such a difficult corner. Job to know even where it is because it's just an open end of a runway. But it's designed like that on purpose.
It's quite a long circuit, being just over 6 kilometers long.
Have we got the stream online? Because I'm not seeing it on the channel at the moment.
Yes, it is live at the moment.
Okay, when I refresh SimRace South Africa, I'm just missing it. That's all. Maybe, hopefully, it's just me.
Okay. Welcome to Peter Wenzel and Kevin Lawrence in the chat.
Oh, so it's definitely just me if you've got it. I'm wondering why I'm missing it.
So currently it is Nick Hodgson in the Point Blank Racing BMW, currently on provisional pole position, half a second ahead of Peter Holden-Jones, our birthday boy this evening. Happy birthday,
Peter. Oh yes, I forgot. Yeah. Very good. So Nick should do the honourable thing and come second tonight. But nice to have Nick back in Assetto Corsa.
Yeah.
His old favourite.
Yeah. Viewers will recognise Nick Hodgson's voice from the simGP live streams that he does together with Alan Patterson.
Very well he does as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Does very well. And the birthday boy has gone to provisional pole position by 0.3 of a second in the Sim Racing Crew Lamborghini. So
if you're going to win a Division 1 race, it's going to be on your birthday, isn't it? Surely.
Yeah.
The chat will be rooting for him.
I think to avoid the commentator's curse, we should not talk about Peter.
Sorry, Peter. We'll go back to Nick. I wouldn't want to put it against him. Very popular sim racer in SimRace South Africa, for sure. And obviously team owner.
Yeah, of Sim Racing Crew. Quite a big outfit at SimRace South Africa these days.
They employ pretty much half the races in South Africa, I think. But it's obviously a good place to be because people don't leave there, which is always nice. Yeah. And they've been going for a while.
So we've got.
So what do you think of Sebring? Do you like it as a track? I'm gonna go out there and say that I can't stand Sebring, and I don't necessarily think it's. I don't think it's a bad track at all. I just think I'm terrible at it. It's got to be one of my worst circuits.
Yeah, I'm not one for not liking a circuit.
No, I think it's my ability on it that's...
Yeah, but just generally, I don't sort of have circuits that I don't like. I generally look at a circuit and go, how can I be faster, and just get on with it. I know a lot of people are sort of vocal about tracks that they don't like, which I don't quite understand myself. I don't know why exactly. But having said that, Sebring I find very challenging, and I enjoy that. I also enjoy setup work, and I found
it's really difficult to get into a rhythm, isn't it? That's what I struggle on Sebring. Most other tracks, you get into a rhythm, you feel like you're making progress. I've never made progress on Sebring. That's my
and sort of also battling to get into rhythm. It sort of affects your setup work as well, because you don't really have a base to work with, because your driving's changing all the time.
Yeah, 100%. And it's the bumps is the problem.
Yeah,
it's designed. They've on purposely. I've sort of read up on the circuit to try and get a bit of knowledge on it, but they don't want to remove the bumps. It's part of the characteristic of the circuit. They think that is what helps it to be a challenging circuit. So they got 1 kilometre of concrete, and that concrete is still there since 1945. Basically, it's World War II concrete that you're driving on, and they refuse to resurface it. And they think it puts more damage on a car in the 12 hours of Sebring than 24 hours of Le Mans.
Yeah.
So it shows you how difficult it is on car and driver, but also why I'm terrible.
Because I think that the first race here was back in 1950, I think it was. And it's one of the oldest operating racetracks in the US at the moment, or is. Sort of the same piece of concrete for all that time, I suppose. I'm not sure. But
it's just a World War II American air base, really, and they thought, well, let's use it for something when we finished with it, and the circuit was the way forward. But it's still an operating runway, and both runways run whilst you can use it as a track. It's a pretty nuts setup, really. No elevation changes whatsoever, completely flat. No camber whatsoever. It's almost like it's like a Top Gear test track, isn't it?
Yeah, you could expand. A big one. Yeah. So we're now watching Alan Patterson of Patterson Works Racing, and father-son outfit in track this evening. Alan is leading his son Kieran. Kieran currently in 6th position, doing very well as Kieran. I think it's only his 3rd or 4th race at Simrace South Africa. And then we've got Edrin Govender. Been at Simrace South Africa for a long time now. It was great to see Edrin on track. Hopefully he has a good race this evening. For Point Blank Racing, teammate to Nick Hodgson, of course. And then Hannes van Wyk in the BMW, doing well in 8th position.
Are we missing a skin for Van Wyk? I've just had him as a white BMW.
I've got him in a default skin. So.
Yeah, he's not got a skin yet.
Okay, yeah.
Still looks good in white.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same as my wife's car. She's got a white Z4.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Hasn't got a whacking great big wig on the back
Very
of it.
Nice.
There.
What mode is in that one?
She's got, it's only the little one. Still quite quick. What was it? Okay. The 28i.
Okay. It's got plenty of get up and go.
Yeah, it's actually quite fun to drive. Doesn't sound as good as the ones on Assetto Corsa though, unfortunately.
So it is Calvin still in provisional pole position. You'll be really wanting this, and it's very tight. Wow, it's
sure, really tight.
What 9/100ths? What 9?
Yeah, 9/1000ths
of a second. Wow. Yeah.
So we can expect a good battle between these two at the front. Swanepoel's half a second back in 3rd place. Still not out of it by any means. But yeah, 9/1000ths of a second.
That's all it is. So
that's the difference between having a birthday and not having a birthday, I think.
Sound logic there, Daniel. I would agree.
Yeah, it's got to be worth 9/1000ths of a second a birthday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
So Calvin is not going to improve this lap. Hodgson's on an out lap, it seems.
Still time for an outlap and another flyer.
And we've got Dirkie Swanepoel battling with his ping, I think.
Yeah, I see him floating around the track on my screen as well. It's not just you.
Yeah, if you don't mind, Daniel, maybe just send Dirkie their message in the chat just so look at his ping.
Yeah, okay, no problem.
And then I will thank you. And then I will continue here. So Brent Alexander now, currently in 4th position. Got some pace there in this SRC Lamborghini. This is the SRC G-code version.
Okay, hopefully Dirkie sees that. Yeah, his ping's in the 1200 mark, so that's not going to be sustainable unless he can fix it, unfortunately. Maybe everyone else is actually perfect. Nick Hodgson, 16.
Yeah, I think the pings are okay.
I'm perfect low as well, so it's I don't think it's a server issue.
Back to normal, yeah. So Dirkie maybe just needs to restart his router or do something.
Unfortunately,
get that done
only a
before
minute and a half
restart.
to go.
Yeah.
That's never good, but it sometimes happens with sim racing, I'm afraid. We'll see plenty of it. We've seen so much sim racing over the weekend. The one advantage with our current situation and pretty much no sport whatsoever is sim racing is the one, it's the one e-sport that resembles the real life so well and can be done in self-isolation quite nicely. I think we'll see more and more of it in the coming weeks. I think it's certainly ramping up and production getting a bit more higher quality as well.
Yeah.
And some pretty famous drivers giving it a go. So that's always a good advert for the quality of sim racing, that they're happy to do it.
It's been a bit like everybody's loss has been sim racing's gain.
Yeah.
The way things have carried on. It's been quite astonishing.
It's actually a bit uncoordinated at the moment, so hopefully someone can gather it together and make it into an actual proper sort of series with a championship possibly.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to happen. But in the meantime, at least we're seeing some pretty much a huge batch of real life drivers from all different categories having a go online and racing against top sim drivers as well. And it's actually quite fascinating to see how real life drivers compare to sim race drivers. What I've noticed over the weekend is it seems like the top sim drivers are incredibly quick, and obviously they know the sim so well, incredibly quick over one lap. But once you go into a race setting, those real world drivers, they're there or thereabouts, that's for sure.
They probably hit back with their consistency.
Yeah, 100%. They might be a bit ultimately slower in a one lap race, but over half an hour they catch you up.
Yeah. Okay, I think that is quali done and dusted. Peter Kellner seems to have it by 9/1000ths of a second ahead of Nick Hodgson. So expect a good battle between those two drivers. And Dirkie Swanepoel hopefully can sort out his ping there in 3rd position. He's still jumping up and down there. Brent Alexander completes the top 4. Alan Patterson and Kieran Patterson are your number 5 and number 6. Adrian Govender then 7th, Hannes van Wyk in 8th, Neil Berg in 9th, Mark McGee in 10th position, Barry Mann 11th, and Craig Hunter runs up the field there in 12th position. I say that Barry Mann moves to 10th now after a good run there in the Patterson Works Audi.
Obviously such a long lap. We've got quite a long overtime run.
Yeah, let's just go through the order and see who's out there. Still Neil Berg is having a run. Oh, no, he's lost it. The corner's the other way there, Neil. Okay, well,
it's easy to get lost here, I have to say. It's easy to get lost. It's happened to the best of us.
Okay, well, prepare for the formation lap. We can have a short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to Sebring for round 3 of the 2020.1 South African simGTc series, our Assetto Corsa leg of the South African simGT series. And unfortunately we had one driver that had to leave the server because of his ping rates. Sorry Durkee, but 1,000 millisecond ping rate will only cause chaos at the start.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Maybe he can get himself back later.
Yeah. But we now watch Peter Holden-Jones leading the field around the formation lap. And he'll be very happy to score a pole position on his birthday. He'll take that present.
He will, however, be watching his mirrors for Nick Hodgson, who is basically glued to the back of him as far as lap time goes. Not even to the back of him, right to the side of him. He's that close. So expect a good battle at the start of this race. Those two basically divided by nothing. So it'll all be down to who can get a clean first few laps of the race and whether they can make it count.
I think Dirk Brand has managed to join the server in time as well. So that's another car to the server.
Up to 13 drivers. We'll see a bit down this evening. But there was a Division 2 race on Wednesday as well.
We have a possible 24 drivers on Wednesday evening for Division 2. I've had a sort of 10 new signups over the weekend.
Oh, that's good. Always good to have a few more. Obviously, people have got a lot of spare time at the moment, so maybe we'll get even more.
Yeah, so not just joining in this championship, but also the ACC leg of the championship and the GP series.
I've just noticed something very interesting. We've got Geldness on the medium tyre and Nick Hodgson on the soft tyre.
Okay.
So that very, very tight gap in qualifying is going to be even tighter now. Nick should be quicker. He's going to be needing to pass to make that strategy work, I would think. A few guys on softs, but definitely mediums, which is often what we see in Assetto Corsa GT3 being the most common.
Peter Holden-Jones has got the race underway. We've got the speed up point quite early on, just to get past around this long right-hander.
Yeah, 100 different ways round this one. Nick takes a completely different way from Peter. Right up behind him. Long first corner. Again, you can take a few lines through there as well. Basically, this whole track, you can pick your line. These two already pulling a gap from third place, but Nick's not letting Peter get away.
No. Now Nick needs to put a lot of pressure on Peter to get past him and scamper away as quickly as possible. Use those soft tyres and hopefully get away with a good gap before the first pit stop.
Yeah, you'd expect Nick to come in earlier, but I would still only think it'll be a one-stopper. I think Nick just needs to be a bit patient here. Historically, we've seen him get into a little bit of trouble at the start of races where he's tried to force things. And on the soft tyres, I think he'll get an opportunity if he just keeps the pressure on and not tries to force it too much.
Brent Alexander under severe pressure from team principal Alan Patterson. Patterson, of course, in charge of Patterson Works Racing. Chasing down the sim racing crew Lamborghini of Brent Alexander.
And we got Kieran Patterson behind as well. What's the relationship between Alan and Kieran? I'm not 100% sure.
Father and son.
It's father and son. Yeah. Okay. That's always an interesting one.
It's interesting chatter around the dinner table, no doubt.
Yeah. Son will never give in. Father should.
Nick Hodgson now right with Peter Holden-Jones down the long back straight. The Lamborghini's got the legs on the BMW, or does he? Here comes Nick Hodgson. Oh, and Holden-Jones made a huge mistake, and Hodgson is through.
Very wide.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick's he made the pressure count, and that's exactly what he needed to do. Not really force the issue, keep the pressure there. And on the different tyres, Holden-Jones is just trying to push him a little bit too much.
And Brent Alexander, also part of the sim racing crew outfit that Holden-Jones runs, obviously doesn't put too much pressure on Holden-Jones.
We've got Patterson on the grass. Alan Patterson takes to the grass, and Kieran's was quite interested, I should imagine. Very, very tight in that sort of 3rd to 6th place. Side by side, the Pattersons are.
So the Pattersons have a decision to make now. Are they going to squabble amongst themselves or decide who's quicker and let them go after the sim racing?
Fair, it's not like
crew Lamborghinis.
Alan's really got open track in front of him, has he?
No.
Being held up himself by Alexander. Kieran looks keen to push on. Now, Peter Holden-Jones is really struggling on these medium tyres, isn't he? Because he's dropped back into the pack now, and he's not pulling away at all. In the meantime, Nick Hodgson's pulled 3.5 seconds on him already, and we're talking 1 lap. So the birthday boy's got a few troubles to get over this evening if he's going to win this race. So just settling down in these first 3 laps. Nick Hodgson, now that he's managed to break away, looks like he's really putting the pedal down, trying to build a gap. Whether he's on a break, on a different strategy on that soft tyre, whether it's short fueled and he wanted to go out flying and he might take an extra pit stop, we'll have to wait and see. If that was the case, we'd be expecting to come around about lap 15. Otherwise, it'll be the usual, everyone in the pits on lap 21, 22, halfway through the race, single stop, I would imagine. Most cars behind, or every car behind him up to Hannes van Wijk is on the medium tyres. So Hodgson's taken a bit of a gamble here on the softs. See whether it pays off for him and he can actually keep those tyres under control. So it's not all over yet. Oh, we got a mistake there by Alan Patterson. Kieran Patterson's got through. Van Wijk has also got through in the BMW Z4. Now under pressure from Govender. Went wide there, missed a corner and onto the grass.
Oh, contact there. Alan Patterson and Adrian Govender come together. A lot of damage.
I was just looking at my timing screens as Zach went off, but yeah, Patterson's had a few mistakes now. He went off on the grass earlier in the lap. Maybe that put something on his tyres, but he's got damage on that Audi now. The front of the Audi, it's got scratches and dents all over it. Might be affected here.
Mark McGear slips past the one. Patterson works Audi. And I was after Adrian Govender. Alan Patterson struggling for pace now. He's slowed.
Yeah, those few off tracks has not helped whatsoever. He's got damage all around that R8. He's really struggling to keep it on the circuit. Govender also damaged from that off. Patterson now got a run on McGear, going up the inside. McGear's covering him. It's not going to be sufficient. Patterson's got the move made on the very difficult final corner.
Nicely done.
He picked the right line there, yeah. Very good move. That is just, I mean, basically an overtaking bonanza, isn't it? That last corner, you can go make a move anywhere.
Well, Mark McGear getting very ragged at the edge of turn 1. Hangs on to it, does not lose the position. You see Barry May just start breaking himself. Trying to get around the outside of Mark Biquet hasn't worked. But
These Patterson boys can't stay away from each other, can they?
Here comes Dirk Brenn, the striking Lamborghini. The white
Splitting
with
them.
red
He's going to
stripes.
take two in two corners.
He's
Wow.
gone for it.
What is wrong with this
Nicely done.
Patterson setup? They're going backwards now.
So Dirk Brenn now leads Barry May and Neil Berger, the two other Patterson Works Audis.
There's multiple Patterson, sorry. Yeah.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. They're literally half the grid tonight. But they're all struggling a little bit, it seems, in that R8. So maybe they are, I would imagine they're sharing setups. So Kieran Patterson, in the meantime, in 4th place.
So he's the best of the Patterson Works Audis.
Yeah, he's avoided everything. Alan's had quite a few difficulties, but Kieran's been clean and tidy, and he's got a very fresh-looking Audi R8, but he's also got Van Wyk right up the back of him in the BMW Z4, coming into turn 1. I need to get a wing for the wife's car. It looks epic. And some flared arches.
So Hannes van Wyk now in 5th position, just quietly getting on with things, staying out of trouble. Let's see how far he can get up the grid.
Nick Hodgson's really doing well since he made that pass, and in 5.5 seconds in 5 laps is a very, very good drive. So he'll be pleased with that. He'll be constantly aware of the gap and making sure it's growing, specifically if he's thinking of taking an additional pit stop. Knowing that he's got to make up a pit stop, but at the pace that he's going, he could very well do that and have that privilege of having a free pit stop. Holden-Jones just needs to sort of ignore it and settle into his own pace that he's practiced for race, because quite often if you're on a different strategy, you can just be tempted just to push too much. And the tyre can't handle it, and you know you can't do it, but you just think, well, how's he doing it? How's he doing it? But you've got to ignore that race and just concentrate on your own strategy. By the end of the race, you never know, it might pay off.
So this is the closest battle on track at the moment. No, it isn't. In fact, it's between Kieran Patterson and Hannes van Wyk over 4th position.
These two have been scrapping for a couple of laps. I mean, you do think surely Sebring can afford a bit of road markings rather than some cones, though, hey? I know, that wouldn't disturb... we got a bit of a tank slap of Van Wyk. Coming out, that'll cost him a lot of time because he'll lose time down the whole length of the straight into turn 1, and you carry a lot of speed through to turn 1 as well. So a mistake on exit in the final corner cost you for quite a good chunk of the first sector.
Bit of damage there to the governed Audi. Well, yes,
he
you did.
with Alan, wasn't
Yes,
it?
that's correct. Yeah.
Still looks good, Assetto course, I have to say, especially with all the updates and things it's received. We just need some rain, though. How brilliant was Suzuka last round with the rain? Certainly added a whole new sort of mix of strategy and tension for anyone watching as well. Very much enjoyed that.
I think a lot of drivers sort of felt that it was the most intense race they've ever sort of taken part in.
Oh yeah, terrible for a driver. I would have hated it, but I loved it as a commentator and a spectator.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. I think at the end when they watch it back, that they appreciated that it was something quite special. So very much enjoyable. And is the next round for that next Monday, is it, or is it the Monday after?
Be the Monday after.
Monday after. Okay.
And that would be at Laguna Seca, featuring the famous corkscrew.
And I'm suspecting we're going to have some very well prepared drivers for that race in 2 weeks' time. Yeah, difficult corkscrew, especially if it's wet. Although I don't think it's got, yeah, doesn't usually get rain there. So Alan Patterson's on a bit of a recovery drive now, isn't he, from his mistakes earlier? Maybe a little bit annoyed with himself. There's plenty of time in this race to make that time back. Peter Geldenez has actually pulled a second back on Nick Hodgson, which is quite interesting. So I wonder whether Nick had a problem or he had a very scruffy last lap. Got Nick's fastest lap time is quite significantly quicker. He's 2 minutes 0.8, which is sort of 0.6 quicker than Geldenez's fastest lap time. But it's not all about fastest lap times. He clearly made a mistake in the last lap and dropped a second because he's pulling it back now in this next lap.
Kieran Patterson just taking a bit too much curb in the last corner. It's allowed Hans van Veek to close right up now. The gap to 0.3 of a second. Mark Miguez got past Alan Patterson now. He's up to 7th, so Patterson with another problem. He's fallen right behind Govender now in his customer position. Oh, again.
He's struggling, Alan, isn't he? He's a bit wayward in that Audi, maybe on fuel, and just checking what tyres is Alan on. He is on the mediums as well. Sometimes if you've done a lot of hot lapping, you just softs. Go onto the mediums and the car just doesn't feel the same. Braking points obviously change, turning points change. Gotta try and train yourself to cope with that. Mike McGear is keeping his McLaren looking very clean and tidy, and his resale value is up, which is always good. So I've had so much of Sebring recently because every sim's been using it because it's obviously supposed to correspond with the 12 hours of Sebring, which would have been on Saturday. So it's a very well used circuit on all sim racing schedules at the moment for the last week or two. iRacing's used it extensively. Alan Patterson's gone deep again. So Nick Hodgson's got his gap back up to over 5 seconds, but it's not growing substantially since then. 9 laps in. Just wondering whether his tyres are starting to come down a little bit. Just starting the 10th lap now. Certainly looking a little bit sideways going through turn 1. And into the next section as well, yes. But I think those tyres, 10 hot laps, he's flipping sideways everywhere, isn't he?
You can see the understeer and then the snap oversteer.
Yeah, those tyres are going off, I think. So this is where Peter Geldenez, if he just keeps punching in his laps, could actually claw this back. I mean, we're only lap 10 in. I mean, just looking at Nick, either he's majorly overdriving the car, or if those tyres, he's going to really struggle to do a one-stop here. So strategy could play a major role in who wins this race after 90 minutes and 44 laps. Brent Alexander's had a pretty quiet race. 3rd place, just happy to just go around on his own, I think. Had a very good showing, podium position so far. So Kieran Patterson not too far behind, so he's not got it super easy, but he's got clear track in front of him and not too much pressure from Kieran yet.
Now watching Dirk Brand. He's being chased by Neil Berger. Just 0.7 of a second in it.
You'll have to watch the chat. I can't actually get it on I can get the stream on Chrome, but it's not on the YouTube program for some reason.
Okay.
Very strange. And for some reason on iPad you can't see comments, which is ridiculous. on Chrome, can you see it on the actual YouTube app?
Okay.
So sorry if I've missed any comments in the chat. But we're now sort of almost waiting for who's going to make the first move with pit stops and how that will affect the race. Dirk Brand's going very wide there. Neil Berger's takes a completely different line, but it still keeps Dirk in front through turn 1. Battling with the bumps really can get tiresome. Also, completely change your rhythm. You take a different line through a corner, but if you're not aware of the bumps, it's quite a difficult circuit to learn. It's dead flat, lots of corners, that's not so bad, but you've almost got to learn the bumps as well, because it can throw the car off so drastically. But if you go offline in an overtaking position, or you take a different line yourself, trying something new, and you hit a bump that you didn't know it was there, can properly change the momentum of the car and catch you unawares. Hurts my wrists.
When I drive this track, I almost sort of use the bumps as the brake markers.
Is it? Yeah.
It's not bad though. Yeah.
You familiarise yourself. It's where the different sections of concrete join. They've got big jumps between the two. Obviously, when you get a laser scan version as well, very, very pronounced. I have to have a completely different force feedback setting for Sebring for every other track. Otherwise, you end up with some pretty sore wrists.
Oh, and Peter Helnes is down to 3rd position now after a mistake, and he's going to lose one to Kieran Patterson too, I suspect.
Oh, what a shame we haven't got a replay function, because we missed that one.
Patterson has run wide though, and almost contact.
No damage on Galdanes's car, so he maybe just went wide or spun or something, but it doesn't look like he's been in contact with anything.
Hans van Beek's looking dangerous too, just behind there. Helnes with a dive
up
up
the inside into turn 1. Very wide line from Kieran Patterson, but he manages to keep the position. And he's looking interested in the BMW.
Craig Hunter's got Barry May there for 11th position.
He's going to take the pressure off Nick Hodgson, and he's wearing tyres as well, isn't it? Because he's now got quite a substantial lead. He would have been aware of that not growing around the 5 seconds, but now Nick finds himself 15 seconds up the road from Brent Alexander. Peter Galdanes has got quite a lot of work to do now to get just back into his 2nd place. We know he's got the speed because he set a blistering qualifying time.
Craig Hunter's got past Barry May again. Looks like Barry May had an off. Back with Peter Helnes now, riding the bumps very hard. Oh, someone's gone wide. I think that's Brent Alexander.
Peter Galnez must be putting some pretty serious pressure on Kieran Patterson. Gap of 4/10. Different lines through the final corner. Kieran's covering the inside for sure into turn 1. Gaps there that he doesn't have to worry too much. Certainly this will take the pressure off Nick Hodgson. Wonder whether that makes him question his strategy choice. Oh, we've got Geldenez off track again. He's onto the grass.
Just too many areas there by
through.
Geldenez. He needs to settle down.
Yeah, he's pushing it a bit much, isn't he?
Yeah, because I find Sebring really punishes over driving more than other tracks for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Really.
It's the bumps that does it, isn't it? You overdrive and your car reacts differently. And yeah, it can throw you off the circuit so easily. Such big heavy braking zones as well in certain areas. That if you push them too much, all that ends up happening is you go off track.
Guy born with Kieran Patterson.
This gap to Brent Alexander's been quite consistent. It's come down a little bit though. We're under a second now. We're starting to see Lamborghinis struggle at the end of stints here. It's always been quite a difficult car to drive, very quick in a one-lap race, but it's incredibly twitchy, the Lamborghini. Might be responsible for some of these errors we've been seeing. Not the most stable car of the group, I wouldn't have said. Audi's probably slower on a one-lap pace, but it was certainly more manageable to drive than the Lamborghini. Very close now up behind Brent Alexander.
Going through the big bend now towards turn 7, the hairpin.
I think Americans have got to rethink some of their names, haven't they? Big Bend. It's not Eau Rouge, is it? It's a Big Bend. Let's call it that. Not too imaginative, but still.
Yeah. This one they got right through Fangio. Turns 8 and 9 towards turn 10 now. Tight right-hander.
They hosted a Formula One race here once, didn't they? In the 50s, I think. Oh, I can't imagine a Formula One car would get close to doing a lap without losing all its floor in its current state. But in the 50s, that would have been a different story, obviously. More road-style cars.
Certainly with a lot of sparking.
Yeah.
On the underfloor.
Your car would probably be under the weight limit at the end because you'd lost half of it.
Approach going through Le Mans now, turn 16, and then this is Ullman Straight, I think they call it.
Good consistent driving from these two though. Gap staying quite clean. That exit onto the coming down this straight is important because Kieran Patterson lost a lot of time there. It's always interesting to see cars coming through that final corner completely differently as people choose their own lines. There's not one definitive line. There's definitely 3 or 4 through there that can work. What makes it such a good endurance circuit with the 12 Hours of Sebring being so popular.
Mistake
sort of a
there.
warm-up event for Le Mans.
Yeah, the mistake there by Alexander. That's allowed Patterson to close. The gap just now 0.3 of a second as we go through Big Bend once again under the bridge.
They're waiting for a famous driver to have a crash or a famous overtake or something on that bend. Nothing's happened on that bend since 1950.
Mistake.
Oh, another mistake.
Oh, and Patterson just avoids the rear diffuser there of Alexander. I think Patterson's got a run on him now.
To avoid that.
Yeah. Alexander goes defensive. Patterson trying to go around the outside. That'd be brave. Wow, he's going to get it done too.
Very good driving there. Well done, Kieran Patterson. Going up to second position.
Now, if Kieran Patterson can just get away from Brent Alexander, we'll soon realise his natural pace.
Shows you what a bit of pressure can do, doesn't it? It's the first bit of pressure Brent Alexander's had. He was going along nicely, basically on his own in third place for the whole start of this race. But when you start watching your rearview mirrors, it definitely becomes more difficult to be consistent. But now he's switched roles, and we'll see whether Kieran Patterson can cope with the pressure of having a rearview mirror filled with Lamborghini. Hurricane looks quite mean behind you as well with those pointy eyes.
It certainly is intimidating. Hannes van Wijk under pressure now from a recovering Holden-Jones. Holden-Jones has got the inside line, but Hannes has got the one for the next corner. Side by side.
Lamborghini had the run though, didn't he? No, maybe not. Very tight into turn one. Yeah, no, Holden-Jones had the run, I think, on the exit. A bit of a recovery now for Peter Holden-Jones, back up into fourth position. We know he's got the pace, but he's he's dropped back quite significantly from Nick Hodgson. He was going along nicely around a 5-second gap, and now he's sort of 20 seconds back. So Hodgson won't be minding that at all in his live relative lap time, I'm sure. All of a sudden, your car becomes easier to drive. The tyres think they can last forever. That pressure's not there. Certainly looks more stable than last time we rode on board with Nick Hodgson. But I would imagine lap times have come down a little bit since his early pace in the first stint of this race.
Hodgson seems running a very soft setup and a braking the car, just sort of walling around at the front.
Yeah, he didn't get the sports pack when he ordered it. He was in comfort mode.
Hodgson running up to about 8,500 RPM. Braking for the last corner of the track. Wide entry, hugs the inside. That's sort of the line that I take normally through here.
Yeah, it's just hard to take a marker because it's so wide. It's difficult. You think, I suppose, repetition. Eventually, you sort of pick a turning point from the wall next to you as you're going into that braking zone. But to begin with, it's just such a wide. It feels like you're driving into an abyss. Amazingly, they've literally had retirements in the 12 hours of Sebring at night time with drivers physically getting lost on track here. They lose their way. There's no markers, and they have to retire because they find themselves on the runway. It's happened more than once, apparently.
Yeah, I've had that feeling when I was doing the 24-hour Le Mans in VEC. At night time, I sort of get lost between the chicanes and not sort of realizing which corner is coming up.
Daydream goes on, and you're like, oh, quick, yeah. You think it's ridiculous, can't you? You've done hundreds of laps, and all of a sudden you're lost. But yeah, here you can see it. It's a very, very dark track. It's completely flat. There's no camber either. And a lot of corners are quite similar. You lose your concentration and start daydreaming.
Yeah.
Kieran Patterson's done well since he got into second place. He's not let any pressure build from Brent Alexander, and he's pulled a little bit of a gap, a little bit of a safety zone of 1.5 seconds. Trying to make that second place his own before we go into the manic sort of pit stop window in about 4 or 5 laps time. So we're expecting cars to be coming into pits in probably 4 laps. It's usually bang, split in the middle of the race. In the meantime, Kieran Patterson, after all the compliments I've paid him, he lost half a second on that lap, so he did make a mistake. Gap's now back under a second. YeloDesignCo is trying to track down Brent Alexander in the meantime, also within a second. Maybe pushing Brent Alexander along a little bit here. We got our first pit stop, and Hannes van Beek into the pits. Craig Hunter also into the pits. Oh, yes. Yeah, I've got Dirk Brand on screen, but we've got Hannes van Beek in the pits. So that's an early pit stop, lap 18. Just checking to see.
That could be a 2-stop strategy.
Yeah, it's a little bit in the middle of nowhere, isn't it, really? I'm just trying to track what tyres he was on. Let's see whether I can find that information. It says medium still at the moment, which is what I would think he was. Craig Hunter was on the softs. So he's pitted, presumably because they were pretty finished. So it's a very early pit stop there from Hannes van Beek. So we'll see whether that costs him later on. Got an extended second stint now.
Watching Mark McGear starting to re-challenge Govender there for 5th position.
A few drivers here might be looking forward to their pit stop as an opportunity to repair their cars. Govender being one of them. Alan Patterson is the other driver that was mixed up in some on-track action that's caused maybe a bit of damage to his car. Always makes sense to repair an Assetto Corsa because it tends to get done within the pit window, even for a psychological benefit.
Just a comment in the YouTube live chat. Zander Klengen just says Hannes was on soft tyres.
And he's moved on to the mediums, has he?
That would
okay.
Explain the
early pit stop as well. Okay, that makes perfect sense. My screen was already showing him on the mediums, but he was obviously halfway through his pit stop, so it changed on the screen. So yeah, softs medium makes more of a sense for the early pit stop. Also explains why Craig Hunter. So Nick Hodgson on the soft tyres, probably just trying to push them to see whether he can go softs. He's obviously not under as much pressure anymore. And he can preserve that tyre life a little bit longer. Try and get to 21, 22 laps. Never ideal to go on a split strategy. Tyre. It's much easier to stay on the same tyres throughout the race.
And we had a swap in position here between Calvinus and Alexander. So the two sim racing crew Lamborghinis just swapping their 3rd and 4th positions. Seemed like Brent Alexander sort of let Peter Calvinus through. Perhaps feeling that he's the quicker driver to go after Kieran Patterson.
And the birthday boy.
Yeah.
I wonder if that gives you should have an extra light or something on your car. Let me through. Peter Calvinus now trying to push up the back of Kieran Patterson. Pit stops is obviously another opportunity to make a pass. Have a clean pit stop. Gain a couple of seconds, and that's enough to jump a position here. It's quite tight from 2nd to 5th place.
Not a great turnout tonight, but certainly the driving standards have been very high, I feel.
Yeah, very good. All the way through the grid as well. We haven't seen hardly any issues whatsoever, have we?
Better this than a massive field in chaos.
Yeah, which unfortunately was the F1 2019 event from last night, I'm afraid.
Oh, shots fired there, Daniel.
Did you see it?
I tend to agree, though.
Oh, it was pretty horrific, I'm afraid. That was a bit of a disaster. Yeah, not quite sure that went as planned. But our drivers can give them a run for the money, I think. Certainly in a Assetto Corsa.
Oh, certainly. I don't think that would be a problem at all.
No.
Good move there by Dirk Brand there on Mark Miguel. So Mark Miguel is struggling now. Perhaps he needs to start thinking about a pit stop. Get that
Good use of an alternative line from Dirk Brand there.
Oh,
and I shouldn't have said anything.
yeah. So Dirk Brand pays the price there. And through goes Mark Miguel up into 7th now.
He's got a bit of damage on the front of that car, and it was absolutely pristine. So something's happened very recently to Mike McGear in that McLaren 650S.
Kieran Patterson is falling back into the clutches of Holden-Jones. Gap now down to under 2nd. So Holden-Jones really starting to get on with this now.
Yeah, he's just had a very unfortunate, messy first stint, hasn't he? Because he was right up there putting pressure on Nick Hodgson. Certainly it could have been an issue for Nick on that soft tyre at the end of the stint, but as it happens, Hodgson hasn't had to deal with any pressure whatsoever, and he's just been able to manage his stint. Because Hodgson stopped growing his gap quite a while back. I think he's just happy with the position that he's currently in. Not going to make a mistake.
Mark Miguel and Dirk Brand changing positions all the time.
Yeah, these two having a bit of a good old scrap.
Yeah, let's have a on-board view with Dirk Brand now from his perspective. Not quite sure which gear to go through that corner there, Dirk.
He went through 3, I think, there.
Yeah, and suddenly found 3rd and decided that was the best one and stuck with it. Look how he catches up to the McLaren. Wow.
Yeah, he's in the back of that McLaren. Completely different lines here through the final corner. Tucked up right behind that Black Widow Racing McLaren is Dirk Brand. Expecting in this lap or the following lap for a good run into the pit stop by majority of the field, I would assume. So we've got this battle's incredibly close, and Dirk Brand's making a move up the inside, and it's going to be enough to make it pass. Can Mike McGear come back on him? I don't think he can there. It's way too tight at the corner. So it got done in the braking zone by Dirk Brand there. Very well done. Next closest gap, we've got Peter Gardner now right at the back of Kieran Patterson, 4/10. Obviously, we know Gardner is quick, our pole sitter. Yeah, so we've got Nick Hodgson is lapping a full 2 seconds slower than his fastest laps now. So definitely that soft tyre would have been an issue. And it's proven not to be as it happened. So maybe Nick knew that he wanted to really go full bore right at the start, and it worked for him because now he finds himself not in pressure, but he's 2 seconds down from his ultimate pace. So we saw the soft tyres going off around lap 10, and he's managed to extend that right the way to the middle of the race. So it'll allow him to go back out on the softs and probably be pretty confident in finishing still.
Mistake there for Holden-Jones. He's not breaking himself. Alan Patterson now into the pits from, what is that, his 6th position?
Yeah, everyone's coming into the pits. There's no Dirk Brand and Mike McGear is also pitting. Mike McGear will give him an opportunity to repair that damage that he had.
Yeah, comes Mark McGear as well.
Patterson as well.
There's Nick Hodgson. As he gets around Craig Hunter. He's gone off. Hunter's down there in 12th position. I'll just stick with Hodgson for a while to see if he comes into the pits or not.
Yeah, he's really extending the stint if he goes past this lap, because I think he'll be quite keen to get some fresh rubber on.
Kieran, Pedersen and Helnes have stayed out. Second and third position, of course.
I think Nick's got a full pit stop window, but he's certainly nothing to worry about. Obviously, track's nice long track, not much traffic. He's coming into the pits. There we go. So our leader is into the pits. We'll expect to see Kieran and Peter Geldenhuys having a right battle. This could be won in pit stops. Got to watch the car taking a very strange line through the final corner and then suddenly going into the pits. That can put you off. That's exactly what happened. As we have Kieran Patterson pits and Peter Geldenhuys manages to stay out. So maybe he can get an extra lap and gain the time there. He's looking to gain about 1 second to make the pass stick and have a slightly shorter pit stop window as well. Nick Hodgson's out. I'm just checking. I'm assuming he stayed on the softs. He has indeed stayed on the soft tyre, so pretty sure that might not have been his original plan, or he would have had difficulty holding those softs towards the end of the stint. But as it happens, it's a one-stop strategy on the softs for Nick Hodgson in the BMW Z4. Kieran Patterson is still on the mediums as well. And Governor is on the softs, I'm showing him. I can't quite remember if he was previously on the softs before.
So Hodgson's...
So our birthday boy gets a lap in the lead at least, sorry.
A celebratory lap, let's say that.
Yeah. Because he's got to do a pit stop. You can't go to the end with the same set of tyres, so there is a mandatory pit stop. And I'd be expecting it this lap, to be honest.
Dirk Brand has passed McGee in the pit stops, so that battle rages on. Governor just behind them in his newly repaired Audi. The number 2 looking all new and shiny.
Wouldn't that be handy if you could do that in real life? Panel beaters, get out all the dents just when you're in for a fuel stop. I know we get our windows washed here in South Africa, but I think that might be a little bit beyond their abilities at the local Shell garage. I was in Italy. I spent 20 minutes trying to figure out how to fill my car up. Self-service there, all in Italian. I'm like, well, where's someone to do it for me? My windscreen's filthy. Honestly, the service in this country. So Peter Geldenhuys is still out. He might have fueled incredibly deep. Maybe he's thinking he'll go on a stint on the softs at the end.
Just keep an eye on Heldenhuys' pace. Maybe he's got sort of something up his sleeve.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how far he pushes it. We haven't had Mike McGeer in to repair his 650S yet either. So we had Geldenhuys who was battling with Kieran Patterson, wasn't it? So seeing what the times as they cross the line, whether you can get the overcut running in the pit stops. It's obviously much lighter on fuel, but with much more worn tyres. Sometimes they balance out, depends on the setup that you've got. So he comes around the final corner and see whether Peter Geldenhuys dikes a dive into the pit lane. Certainly taking a tight line.
Going to, yeah. Is he? No, it's not.
That's just his line. Different from everyone else's, obviously. That looked like he was destined to go into the pit lane. So this is very interesting now. We've got something to look out for. 25 laps in, and Peter Geldnes is still not choosing to pit yet. May be telling for the slight lack in pace he had at the start of this race if he was fueled a lot heavier than the cars around him. Govender is right at the back of Mike McGear here in the Black Widow Racing McLaren.
Good fight this between McGear and Govender. Oh, side by side. Great racing. McGear's holding on to 8th for now. Let's see if Govender can do anything about that.
Neil Berger in the pits. He's obviously also a late pit stop driver. He was on the medium tyre. Expect him to stay on the medium. Nick Hodgson in 3rd place, but obviously finds himself in a net 1st place, clearly, without mistakes. With the 2 drivers in front of him still yet to pit. And Brent Alexander and Peter Geldnes. We had a little bit of this in Suzuka as well, didn't we? Waiting for pit stops with the rain, and strategy worked out wonders there and showed me up as being quite silly. Maybe Peter Geldnes can do that as well. I think I'd be very, very surprised in Assetto Corsa though. Takes a very tight line through that final corner, doesn't he?
It goes sort of initially very wide and then cuts and hugs that inside cement wall.
Yeah. He's got it to work for him as our pole sitter. It's clearly quick.
Because he's going to do a 2:02.821.
And it's Kieran Patterson we're really looking at.
Alexander is 2/10 quicker in 2nd. See what Hudson does
on
now.
his fresh tyres should be way quicker than 2013.
So half a second faster.
Yeah, that's a second quicker than he was before the pit stop as well. More than a second quicker. So soft tyres makes a big difference when they're fresh. Kieran Patterson's what we're looking at when he comes across. He was quite a ways back. .2025. So what did we say Geldnes was? 2:02.8?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's not doing enough at the moment, is he, to make a jump on Patterson in the pit stops? But obviously that's only 1 lap and he's had 3 or 4. He's lapping similar sort of pace to his rival in 4th over a net 2nd place. Mike McGear's also going incredibly long as well, hasn't he? Because he's not pitted yet, unless he didn't repair his damage.
Yeah, McGear has done a pit stop. I think he just, as you say, hasn't repaired out.
Yeah, so he chose not to repair his damage. Maybe he didn't have it set on his pit stop strategy. It looks like it's probably visual.
This is where the McLaren will excel when compared to the Audi. And the Audi should catch up down the straights.
Yeah, and the tight twisty stuff, the McLaren is still pretty much unbeatable, isn't it? Difficult to make a pass though because it lacks in straight line speed. Still have a soft spot for the McLaren though. That was the car I started in with the Assetto Corsa.
And I like it very much too. It's sort of a surgical feeling to it around the corners.
Yeah, certainly a nice driver's car, isn't it? Yeah. Really attack the corners. Get confidence in the corners helps.
Oh, and
Governor's got his deep there.
It's braking wrong, yeah. It's unfortunate.
Whether he got caught out a little bit by Mike McGear, but I think Governor just went a bit deep.
Yeah, I think so too.
Only seems to have cost him, unfortunately.
So
Mike McGear is scampering off ahead.
So let's diffuse that battle for the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was the tightest battle on track. Now we're looking at some quite substantial gaps, aren't we?
Yeah.
So maybe we can take the opportunity to see what's coming up. We have the next round of simGP series, I presume next Monday, with Brian Hill, who's organising that. And then we've got a car round of Patterson Works. Car is spun round.
It's Alan Patterson. Yeah. Not having a great race this evening.
No, he's struggled, hasn't he? He had good pace at the start and he's just slowly gone backwards. He's definitely struggled on the medium tyre with full race fuel as opposed to a quali setup.
Get past Brent Alexander then second to put a lap on him. It's quite astonishing. Alan Patterson was fighting it out with Brent Alexander not too...
And you end up getting lapped by him.
Really
Yeah, he's
part
really
of the
in
race.
the walls, isn't he?
Yeah, it's a difficult race, is Alan.
He'll be back in the commentary box for the next simGP series, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think that's the plan.
And then we go to ACC and Laguna Seca in 2 weeks Monday.
Yeah. Looking forward to that race. I think that's going to be an interesting one. Of course, with the famous corkscrew corner. And I think we're going to have a very strong turnout there. Let's see if we can get to 50 cars.
Yeah, that'll be... 50 cars on that track is going to be... It's going to be pretty tight, especially around the corkscrew. But yeah, that corkscrew can take anyone out.
Yeah,
it's actually elevation change is insane. In real life, that must be unbelievable. In VR, the corkscrew you just can't see anything. Your nose just dives off the edge of a cliff and then you drop down. But if you had the G forces as well, you'd feel sick. I think.
Yeah, I think you'd just turn in with a bit of faith and hope it hangs up.
Coaster ride of note. Yeah. The first time you do it, you definitely need some balls. I think to pull that off. Would be entertaining, I'm sure. So we've got that to look forward to. We've also got the last week of the Sim Race South Africa Dirt Rally 2 Championship. Yes. We're in week 12. So if you want to give that a try before we start a new season, and that's always good fun. Dirt Rally 2, very short stages, but I encourage everyone to give that a go. It's always good for a quick sort of 30-minute blast once a week. See how you fare on rally stages, completely different type of driving. But I've got well into that this season, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've been wanting to take part, but I just haven't been able to get there, unfortunately. That's how things are at the moment.
It's quite good though, just because you don't really need to do any prep. You just pitch up, pick a random car, and just close your eyes, hope for the best.
Yeah, you can sort of do the stages when it fits your schedule too. You can just sort of when you have a bit of time.
Yeah, do one each. Yeah, definitely.
Go for it.
You've only got time for one, and then come back and prepare again. But yeah, I've had quite a good participation in that. There's at least sort of 15 drivers a week.
Yeah. And I think you're actually leading the championship, Daniel. Is that correct?
I think I've won it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But yeah, I don't know quite how that happened. Obviously, I like rallying. I've done a bit of rallying. Just the only thing I've actually done in real life is rally driving. So yeah,
are you using VR for that as well? Or?
I am. It initially was a little bit sick-inducing, but I have to say I've got so used to it now I don't notice it at all.
Yeah. I just can't use VR for whatever reason. I really have a problem with it. So
is it? Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not for me. Yeah. So.
No, I can't use monitors. I just literally come to a corner and just go straight on.
Where do I go? Yeah, I can imagine.
Absolutely terrible. I'm like, well, where's the braking?
There's no depth perception.
Yeah, so it's different strokes for different folks, isn't it? We've got quite a good mixture in Sim Race South Africa. Quite a few drivers in VR, plenty with triples, some with singles. I think there's plenty of different ways to skin a cat.
Yeah, unfortunately, it affects me horribly. I mean, I went to a friend's house when I was in South Africa for a holiday. I tried it and I felt so sick for about 3 days afterwards.
Really?
To such an extent that when I think about it, even I feel sick. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
it's like you've had a bad experience with some food or something.
Yeah, it's almost like a post-traumatic sort of type thing with me, unfortunately. And yeah, I
have to say the first time I tried it, it was 20 minutes. Then you start feeling a little bit not too great, and you get little short spells, and you build up almost like a. And now, I mean, I've done 12-hour endurance races in iRacing,
wow.
and and you just don't even notice whatsoever, to be quite honest.
Okay.
So I think it is something you do get better, but yeah, obviously if you've been sick to your extent, you don't want to give it too much of a try.
Yeah.
It has come on a hell of a long way, I think, since the early days as well. The resolution is hugely improved. So yeah, it certainly helped me with braking zones for sure. I think if you give enough practice with some triples, you'd get there.
Okay.
So Peter Gelner's in the pits finally, and Brent Alexander's gone 30 laps. He's going to go soft, surely. He's going to go soft.
Nick Hodgson goes to the lead, of course. That is not a surprise.
So Peter Gelner's has got 14 laps. He's got to go soft. Yeah, he's gone softs. So now we should see some pace from him because he'll be back more familiar with his quali setup. He's gone for a long stint on the mediums and a short stint with softs. So I tend to think he might have got that round the wrong way, to be honest. Because it gave him a lot of pressure at the start of this race.
Kieran Patterson has slipped by 2. He goes to 3rd position.
He's going to struggle to keep Hilda behind him, though, because he's on the mediums. Geldner's on the softs. It's going to be a real battle. I don't think that is. He's still shown in 2nd. He's coming up back marker. And
this is Barry Mayer in front of him.
Yeah.
He's in 11th.
So Kieran Patterson's behind, isn't he? I don't think he's going to be able to catch him. But I think that, unfortunately for Peter, the first stint with a few errors has cost him, and that gap's now quite substantial. Nick Hodgson will be watching it, but not at all being concerned in his relative. He's got 14 laps to go, but 23 seconds. So if he's got any sense about him, he wants to salvage those soft tyres and just keep them in the window for as long as possible. No need at all to overdrive the car. We are seeing times coming down already, aren't we? He's dropped to 2nd from when he came out of the pit stops, so he's lightningly quick now. Those softs probably feel amazing after the stint and heavy fuel on the mediums. Back marker probably needs to jump out the way, Barry Mayer, but not quite yet.
Of course, you have 2 exciting announcements for ACC, of course. The GT4 pack, I think it's with 10 cars, has been announced.
And a few more tracks as well. Do we know what the tracks are yet?
I think they're going to call it the British pack. So the British tracks.
I like British pack.
And I think what they're going to do, they're going to model British GT with the GT3 cars and the GT4 cars together with the British tracks.
So the observant viewer could figure out what the tracks are already, I suppose.
Yes,
I'm not the observant
takes a
viewer.
genius.
So so I don't know what they are. But any British track's brilliant because of the huge possibility of rain. That's the only reason. Yeah. And we're a fan of rain.
Yes. Yeah.
I think we've proven that.
So that's very exciting. I'm looking forward to trying out the GT4 cars. They're not so sort of stable as the GT3 cars, so they do move around a bit. So that should be quite exciting to watch.
Yeah, but also a bit slower so you can actually catch slides, can't you? So we ran a GT series a couple of seasons back in Assetto Corsa. So I'm pretty sure we'll be running putting a guess out there that we'll be running a GT4 series next time out with that content available.
Yeah, that's probably likely.
So
not confirming anything, but yes, it's certainly.
No, you always like to keep your cards close to your chest.
Yeah, of course.
Got to keep us guessing, but there's not too much guessing with ACC because it's either you do it or you don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I actually didn't realize that they're not only GT3 cars in SEC. There's obviously the Super Trofeo Lamborghini car as well, and there's the Porsche Cup as well. A car also in SEC.
Yeah. So you could have done something like that, but obviously a GT3 and a GT4 is quite a natural progression for a 2 series.
Yes, which I like as well.
Season.
It's realistic as well. Yeah.
It worked quite well. When we did it last time, we only had a couple of choices as well, but with 10 cars to choose from, that's a nice range of cars that have all been bopped for you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just for me. For me, it was important this season just to sort of let the AC run its course now, and then sort of a slower transition to ACC rather than just a hard cut.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
when before the season started, I wasn't quite sure how it was going to go because a lot of people didn't like ACC and they were quite vocal about it.
No, and
but I
still,
think it's
still
improved
not
quite a bit.
great in certain areas, is it? And we've got drivers here, like for example, Nick Hodgson struggled with ACC just from performance issues, and I think that will definitely improve as we go forward.
Yeah, I mean, and it also gives sort of the guys a chance to sort of prepare for ACC too, if things are going to sort of moving away from AC in the GT series. Yeah.
And ACC's improved massively since you announced the series as well. Let's be honest. I mean, there was none of the DLC stuff. The performance was pretty dire. It's got hugely better just halfway through this season. So now we can be a lot more confident in it going forward.
And the racing is really good as well.
Yeah, the dynamic weather's superb. I'm very much enjoying that. Something other sims will aspire to, I think.
I think so.
Everyone will be scratching their heads on getting their dynamic weather package sorted.
Yeah.
So on this race, unfortunately, we've been robbed of a good race because Peter Geldner is closing now. He's very, very quick on his soft tyres, but the gap's just too massive for it to make any difference, I think, at this stage, unless Nick Hodgson really makes an uncharacteristic error. Could have been incredibly tight between those two. Yeah, so maybe in the coming weeks we'll maybe do some more community races possibly, or a couple of extra fun races. Obviously we're going to have a lot of drivers with quite a bit of spare time on their hands.
It has crossed my mind
to take their mind off things, yeah. So
let's see what we can do. Oh, contact between Governor and McGear. These two just not getting enough of each other tonight.
Yeah, he forced his way through there, Governor. These two can't seem to avoid each other this evening. Pretty much all evening they've been together. I thought Governor had already passed McGear, to be honest. I don't quite find how, I can't remember how he got back behind.
Yeah, Governor's got a bit of damage as well, so maybe he had an off.
Yeah, and he slipped back because he repaired it, didn't he, at pit stops, and had a brand new Audi. You think Audi wouldn't be too happy with him keep going through cars this quickly?
Yeah.
That must be written in the contract somewhere. I must pay for own repairs.
Unless he's paying for it, then there's no problem.
But yeah, you never know. He's flush.
Coming runs wide. Cost him too badly. Oh, big. Who's gone off there? It's Dirk Brand. Huge off. It's hit the wall as well. Let's see him get going again.
Yeah, that's going to have some serious damage, isn't it?
Just lost out to Governor and McGear. So
10 laps left in this race, and there's gaps everywhere, unfortunately. There's not too many battles to speak of, is there?
No.
Mike McGear, Governor are still the two closest, but that seems to have been settled already. Peter Geldner is tracking Hodgson down, but it's just too little too late, I'm afraid. I don't think any commentator can curse Nick Hodgson that much. 20 seconds in 10 laps would be quite a catastrophic error. So the next round of the Assetto Corsa after this one, do we know what that is? I do this every single time.
I should know these things, shouldn't I? It's one moment.
You should be prepared.
I know.
Sim race.
No, I've got it yet. It's the next one. will be Monza.
Okay, back to a familiar circuit, completely different from this one. I was there the other week,
Okay.
but I couldn't go in. I was so disappointed. That was the one part of my trip that was affected because of the obvious, and the museum was shut. So I did get to walk around the circuit and see the historic banking.
Cool.
And like the end of the start straight with the chicane.
Yeah.
But I was just surprised. I mean, you sort of grow up watching Monza, and I always visualised in my head it was like a spa, middle of a forest sort of thing. And it's in the middle of a flipping town.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah, so it's like a park. So it's a nice park, trees, but like it's the park that's in the middle of the town, and on sort of end of the start straight. Basically, the other side of the wall is where you're driving in your pedestrian cars, and then houses and everything. The feel of trees when you're watching it for all those years is a little bit misleading. But it was still nice to see. And the old bank circuit that's just been left there is quite cool.
Is the banking very steep?
Very steep. Yeah, I don't think you walk up it very easy. Sort of big ramps. It's just been completely left as it was. Quite overgrown and a bit dishevelled looking.
Because there was talk of using the banking for a race recently. I'm not sure if they actually did it. I think it was the 24-hour series. But I'm not sure if they're going to do it or they're not ready yet. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah. I should imagine they maybe got sections that are better than others. I didn't walk down all of it. I was in one section. It's literally, you couldn't it was just like trees growing all over it.
Okay.
And grass through it. But there might be sections that they've kept or maintained that they could use it as an alternative layout. But it's effectively a full oval that's left. Yeah. And I was at the bottom end of the oval by Parabolica. Okay. That sort of section definitely looks sort of left. But yeah, like right next to the banking is a kids' playground with swings and slides and stuff. Yeah, and there's people going around their merry business in the park. But just nice to picture when next time I watch it. Even though I didn't unfortunately get to go in the grandstands and the museum and stuff, it's still nice to be able to picture exactly where it is and what it looks like. It still looks incredibly fast, even when you're stood still and you're looking round. Parabolica, big wide corner. Mike McGeer and Edwin Governor are destined to sort of finish this race side by side across the line, I think.
Let's hope for that.
Because whenever one gets in front, there's always seems the gap keeps switching backwards and forwards, keeping us entertained because the gaps everywhere else are way over 10 seconds.
Yeah, I think these two have been enjoying a rivalry for many years at South Africa, so it always finished in similar positions.
Okay.
And I think this is to settle a few debts from before, perhaps.
It's amazing how that happens, isn't it? And even in racing, you get right.
When the other one gets in front of the other one, then the sort of the motivation factor sort of steps up, I think.
Spurs you on a bit.
Yeah, I think that's what we're seeing.
It sometimes is easier to follow, isn't it, than lead. And until the person leading makes a mistake and you follow them into the mistake. Oh, that's my problem. I do that all the time. You watch someone outbreak themselves and you do exactly the same thing.
Yeah. I get a lot of satisfaction of two cars like this sort of sticking with each other because I know the bop is sort of there or thereabouts.
Yeah, it's about two different manufacturers. Yeah, 100%. You're not suddenly got the McLaren absolutely taking over in the corners.
And certainly over a long track as well. It's a good sign that it's not too bad.
All that work you've done over the years, and if you abandon it now, at least you went out on a high.
Yeah.
You finally nailed it, and then ACC takes it off.
No, we're running a set of course for many years now. I think. When was the first race? I don't know. It might be in 2014. Not sure when the sim came out. Somewhere about then.
It's nice to see progression, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can only be a good thing. I think we need to get rid of Formula 1 2019 for the whatever it is the FIA are doing, unfortunately. I don't have a problem with the sim at all. I think it looks great. It was the no ABS, no traction. Sorry, they had ABS, they had traction control, they had no damage turned on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just asking for disaster, really, and that's unfortunately what we got last night. And it just wasn't a brilliant advert for sim racing. Got a lot of people tuning in for the first time because it happens to be on Super Sport and Sky Sports and all the sports channels around the world. And then everyone comes up to me and goes, "God, do you do that sim racing stuff?" I'm like, "Well, not like that."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
you sort of meant to stereotype, and then you get.
Yeah, goes, "Oh, I think you do that sim racing stuff, don't you?" And I'm like, "No,
It's just, it's a huge pity because we've sort of been waiting for this moment for such a long time.
I had such
And now,
a big
because of what's
audience.
happening in the world, this is the opportunity to really now nail it.
Yeah,
and that kind of thing is presented, and it's just.
It looked like Counter-Strike, unfortunately.
It's heartbreaking, to be honest.
Yeah, real shame.
Who hosted the race? Was it a league sort of type thing, or was it a completely new?
Well, it was authorised by the FIA, and they scrambled together 4 commentators, 2 of which don't even do sim racing. They do like Dota 2 and Counter-Strike commentary. So,
I know.
that was a real shame. They had an unbelievably good lineup of drivers. That wasn't the issue. It was just had technical issues, so the race got halved. So it was only like 25% of the.
Yeah, because
like
it's just a pity that sort of the experienced sort of league managements are not being asked to run these things. They're sort of trying to make a new team to do something that other people have been doing for years and years and years and years. And I just feel it's a bit of a slap in the face of the people who've been building leagues for many years. And sort of just go to them and say, "Will you do this for us? Here you go," and get on with it.
And their excuse was they wanted the game to be manageable for newcomers. But I'm not being funny, but they're all professional drivers. They should be able to drive without traction control and ABS. And they should be able to cope with a bit of damage. And but I think the only saving grace is they've got a few more opportunities, haven't they? They've got half a dozen of these races cancelled now that they will be doing esports equivalent of. They messed up the first one. Maybe they can improve going forward, and we can have a little bit of entertainment. I think the world would enjoy it. An opportunity to see real race drivers actually racing properly. But it didn't get that yesterday, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
So we're stuck with Govender and McGear. I say stuck with, they've been very entertaining. It's not being stuck at all, but this is where the gap is, because everywhere else is like a country mile between cars, unfortunately. Nick Hodgson's just running away with it on his own.
No, it's very much his to lose.
Well, after the pit stops, he had a 25-second lead, and he's lost 6 seconds of it, but he won't care in the slightest, because he's only got 6 laps remaining, and he's just managing the gap, isn't he? There's no need to push it at all. He's doing the sensible thing. That BMW is not overworking itself. He's got that incredibly soft suspension. You're right. Definitely got that.
Yeah, see, it's moving around in the front.
Cars are going through the bodywork, aren't they? But it's probably allowing him to soak up the bumps. He probably knows that BMW more than we do because he's been in it for quite a few seasons.
Yeah.
Favourite car of his for sure. Peter Galsnes takes a second out of him on that lap though. Not that it matters with only 5 laps remaining. Gap down to under 18 seconds. Peter Galsnes has been much more settled on the soft tyres. We haven't seen the gap. The gap's done nothing but shrink. He hasn't made any mistakes. I think the mistake he made was a long heavy fuel stint on the mediums from pole position, to be honest. He probably should have reversed this strategy. But we won't ever know the answer to that, I'm afraid. So even the gap between Mike McGeer and Governor is not sufficient for us to keep entertained with a battle.
No.
Looks like the next 5 laps is going to be failing mistakes, finishing where they are. Very consistent driving, though, it has to be said. We haven't seen too much mishaps, have we, throughout the evening?
No, the standard of driving has actually been very hot.
I've tamed Sebring.
Look at somebody turning around the
There's
wall.
a car turning around the wall.
Who's that? I think that is
Hannes van Beek.
Yes, it is. Oh, he's literally in the wall.
Stuck in the wall, isn't he? He's trying to get away.
It's grabbed him.
Return to pits.
Oh, shame. It's a pity.
Oh, what a place to return to pits as well.
He's going to have to have a penalty for that, then he'll join a lap behind. But I'm sure you'll want to finish anyway.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's one line that you can't take through the final corner. There's 50 others you can, but that one you can't. So he's had a bit of a mishap, was the higher up. Alan Patterson was another one of the drivers that was right at the front of the grid at one point and has struggled this evening in actual race pace. So it'll be interesting to find out later from Alan what happened. Definitely struggled a little bit more with race pace over a qualifying lap, and he's still struggling. That's Neil Berger that's struggling going off wide.
Ready across there.
Interesting line. He's just signed up for Dirt Rally.
And there's Van Beek.
Got
going again. Done in 10th position now.
Not too much paint left on the front of the BMW though. Oh, now it's suddenly repaired itself, so he did do some repairs while he was there.
Yeah.
Kieran Patterson, solid 3rd place. He hasn't made any mistakes.
I think he'll be very happy with
Of
it.
his family member. He'll be very, very happy. He's kept a clean run. He's got a nice, simple gap. He's just bringing it home now. 4 laps to go for a podium position in a Div 1 race. Very good. Berkey Swanepoel will be upset that he's pinged because he was actually pretty quick in practice.
He was pretty upset judging by his YouTube live comments, chat live comments, but fortunately it seemed like his line just let go there at 5 minutes to go before qualifying finished.
Yeah, that's really, really frustrating, especially when you put practice and extra work in to get going and then technical issues stop you. There's nothing more frustrating than that. I suppose it would be the same as a race driver putting all the practice in and his car fails him for no reason. But yeah, very unfortunate. Hopefully you can get that fixed for the next round. Got Mike McGeer down to 4/10 behind Governor again. So these two are destined to just battle it out for 44 laps. But yeah, anyone wants to do some sim racing over the next few weeks when you've got a bit of spare time, now's the time to join. You can join mid-season. Plenty of races to go. How many more rounds have we got? We're only 2 rounds in the ACC season, aren't we? So there's plenty more races in ACC, halfway through on the Assetto Corsa, and we might add a few extra fun races in, I'm sure, in the communities.
We've got the second season, the GP series starting as well. The B season.
Oh, okay, yeah.
As well. Let's try and split it up into 2 seasons.
I might have to have a look at that then, because I didn't do the first season because I was away for massive chunks of it, but yeah, maybe I'll have to have a look for the second season.
Yeah.
I might have to start dusting myself off on ACC.
Oh, yeah.
I've got to join you, Jason. I haven't got a choice. I get a cop out now. I can just talk about everyone else. I don't have the pressure. I quite enjoy it. Unfortunately, the VR experience in ACC is not quite sufficient yet, so I'm just waiting. I'm more than happy to wait, and they will get there. Yeah, they'll definitely get there, and then I'll join then. But the VR is Bash is struggling along with it, but it is a bit of a struggle, really. They will definitely get there. I think with them announcing it being on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, optimization will be on there.
As far as I understand, there's sort of an issue with the Unreal Engine that they need to tackle.
Yeah, it's just the performance is terrible. So the only way you can get ACC to work in VR is to have the settings so low that it looks worse than Assetto Corsa, unfortunately. So you lose the sort of some of the benefits from it. After a while, you get used to it. I did a few laps when we did the Bathurst race online, and you sort of, it's not too bad. And then you, when you jump to another sim that's a little bit more optimized, it just sort of shows up what it is. But they'll definitely, 100%, I've got every confidence that they'll improve it. And I think it'll probably be on the back of major optimization for the console release, which is actually a good thing for PC users. So we'll all benefit from that, even if there isn't cross-platform racing available, which there might well be between Xbox at least. Which could be interesting because you could effectively have some races for Sim Race South Africa from Xbox standpoint if cross-platform.
Cross-platform would be quite a thing for us, I think.
Yeah, because there is quite a lot of console drivers in South Africa.
The numbers are huge.
Yeah. So I think they will be pushing cross-platform, but it probably won't be there to start with. But certainly Microsoft with the Xbox will be 100% up for it. They're really keen to keep cross-platform between Windows and the Xbox, so that could open up a whole new realm for a lot of new drivers.
We're looking back now from Govender at McGear, and you can see how quick the McLaren is through that last section of corners. Again, closing up to the Audi, and the Audi should just edge away now down the straight.
Yeah, this is where the McLaren, it struggles to, you can easily keep up through the corners, but then trying to make a pass is difficult. When I was in it for a season, this is where I struggled. You can almost feel like you're being held up at times by other cars. But then in a long straight, unless you're really, really tucked up behind or they make a mistake in front, then you're often just following and there's nothing you can do about it.
Taken by McGear. Let's Governor get away. And just a lap and a half remaining now, I think, for these two. I think, and a half spin there by McGear too.
That might be the end of McGear's chances, I'm afraid, on the penultimate lap.
Unless Governor makes a mistake now before the end.
So look, we got Peter Galvinez has got the gap right down to 10 seconds. It's such a shame that he had a scrappy first stint because his second stint's been pretty much unbeatable. 15 seconds he's managed to gain on Hodgson after the pit stops.
Wow, yeah.
And he's just it's just too little too late. Unfortunately, the damage was done in that first stint with the medium tyres and heavy fuel. Completely transformed on these softs. He might be a little bit upset with himself. I think maybe he just overdrove the car, didn't he? He was never going to keep Nick behind on heavy fuel and mediums. If he just let him go and just concentrated on his own race, he would have found himself probably now fighting for the lead, if not in the lead, without any mistakes in that first stint. Yeah, but pushing that first stint as he did, we just saw too many off tracks.
Yeah, they certainly would have been very close together, I think.
Yeah, they would have been very, very close. So Nick Hodgson's had a bit of a reprieve here because he's just been able to manage his time. Equally, we'll never really know because I don't think he's pushed in this stint at all. But Geldner's just did a 2 minutes, 0.6. That is the fastest lap of the race. No, he did a 2:0:05 the lap before. So he's got fastest lap of the race. Now he's on the correct tyre for him.
And Nick Couch in this other started the final lap of the race, lap 44.
Yeah, but he's done just what he needed to do though. He had to make a pass, so it wasn't like he led from the front at all. Nick Hodgson, he had to make a pass. He got that pass made around lap 2 or 3, and then he concentrated on building that gap on his soft tyres at the start of the race. We saw his tyres starting to go off around lap 10, and that was when Peter Geldenhuys was still putting substantial pressure on him from behind. But then that pressure relieved itself, and Nick had just really managed himself for the rest. So he had sort of 30 laps of just looking after the tyres, making sure he didn't make any silly mistakes, and he's done just that. And he's going to win with a 9-second gap in the end. So quite a comfortable win for Nick Hodgson, but still very well driven. We haven't seen a single error from him all evening.
I'll be very happy with this drive because he tends to make an error sort of the start of the race. I think you mentioned that before, Daniel.
Last season he made quite a few at the start. You're right. Yeah.
If he can just work on his consistency like he has done now, then he can be successful. That's what he's proven tonight. So I think a big step forward here for Nick.
Drive tonight.
Yeah.
Round the final corner for the last time. He can pick whatever line he likes. Does not make any difference at all. And Nick Hodgson comes through to win the 3rd round of this Assetto Corsa competition. Well done to him.
Oh, Peter Geldenhuys almost into the wall. You will get 2nd for the sim racing crew.
Going for a fastest lap on the last lap of the race.
And Kieran Patterson, he will come
Great
through.
drive from Kieran, I think, hasn't it? We haven't seen any mistakes from him either. Kept himself clean. He was in a battle with Alan at the start. But a solid podium position, well deserved.
I think
well
a
done to him.
patient, calculated drive there by Kieran.
Yeah.
Good drive. He completes the podium for Patterson Works. And Brent Alexander also did a good drive. I think he'll be happy with that. 4th position.
Yeah, good solid 4th place.
In Division 1.
I'll be relieved to get rid of the bumps and go onto a nice smooth track of Monza, I should imagine, for the next round.
Yeah.
Governor and McGear are still destined to battle it out right to the last corner. It's within a second again. Mike McGear's last opportunity, but it's going to need a mistake from Governor here.
Oh, he's going to do it too.
And he gets it! Oh, I'm so sorry. Governor, I apologise. Because Mike McGear poached that from nowhere. Last lap, last corner. Mike McGear gets 5th place, Edwin Governor 6th. What a battle that went the entire race.
Yeah. Dirk Brand gets 7th position. Neil Berger for Patterson Works, he will get 8th. He's just following Nick Hodgson on a celebratory lap. Here's Hodgson. And Neil Berger was super on the outside to pass him to get 8th position. And that's a wrap for round 3 of the 2020.1 South African simGTc series at Sebring. Not many cars, but a thoroughly entertaining race, especially between Mike McGear and Edrin Govender. I think it's really enjoyable. And thanks to you, Dan, for joining me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, no worries. Look forward to the next one, guys. Well done.
Absolutely. Have a good evening, everyone. And until next week in the GP series, I think we'll be streaming that race on Monday evening, Division 1. All the best until then, and goodbye. Good night.